Hello and welcome to this edition of Tips and Tricks. Now today I'm going to be talking about swim flicking. I'm sure most of you know what flicking is. It's when you take a wacky stick bait, but instead of going weightless you add a flicking jig head, and that is a little weighted jig head with the little hook. And this is the way I actually caught all my fish on the Delta. I told you I was flicking, but this was the technique that I ended up finding out worked, and I'd never really used it before. And what keyed me into it was the first day with that 25-mile-an-hour wind. First off, I had to go to the heavy 3/16 ounce, but even then, with the boat moving and the wind, you couldn't just sit there like most people do and let it fall to the bottom, and a lot of times they hit it on the fall, and then start just sort of slowly jiggling it and working on the bottom. I mean, I had to basically swim it. And so sure enough, that's what I started doing. I started swimming the flicking rig. And we were in an area up against the levee in the Delta. A lot of times you get 4 or 5 feet of open water, and all of a sudden these really thick weeds start. So I would throw in there and I would, kind of work it down, but once I felt the weeds, I would pick it up and just start working it right along the top. And like working it and giving it a jiggle and letting it sink down. Once I'd feel the weeds, I'd like pull it out and start. I was like basically taking the weeds with swimming a flicking rig. And a lot of times he was parallel and the weeds were right under the boat. I would kind of work it and we'd get going. And I wouldn't even reel. I just like trolling behind it, and I would just work it and let it drop, work it, let it drop, work it. And the next day with my next pro, we're in the reeds. Instead of throwing it out, letting it drop at the bottom and just working it, I was throwing it to the alleyways and I was doing the same thing. I'd let it hit the bottom, I'd pick it up, and I would just sort of swim it. Jerk it some and let it drop a little bit, jerk it, but I was keeping it up, a good foot or two above the bottom. And that's how I caught my 2 fish then. So give it a try, it's a good technique. I mean, I was using the 3/16. We're gonna have these in 8th and 16th. I mean, you can do it, you can slow it down, you can speed it up and still swim it in the water column. I'm telling you, this technique, I love it. I've been using it elsewhere, and it's been catching me a bunch of fish. It was totally sort of the circumstances that led to it, but you got to give it a try. Swim flicking. Put on, hopefully one of our 5 1/4 gauge stick or any sort of stick bait, and swim flick it. Just boop, boop, work it, kind of fast. And I bet you'll be a fan of swim flicking. Hope this helps. Until next time. What bait were you using?
Your chatter bait.
What's that jitter jig?
Jitter jig. The green pumpkin.
And what trailer were you trying first?
I was throwing different stuff on there, and then I finally back to the
I told him first it'll work good with that little bit of chartreuse on it.